Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and another video. Today's video is a little bit different. My favorite team, the Texas Rangers, has just fired, and when I say just, I mean like 20 minutes ago as I'm recording this, has just fired their manager, Chris Woodward. This is kind of my reaction to it as a Rangers fan. It's just kind of like a short solo podcast kind of thing on what I think about the Woodward firing. Obviously, this was reported by a lot of the major people. That includes Jeff Passan, ESPN, MLB Network was talking about it already. Then the team released a statement. I have Kennedy Landry's tweet up just as a background to start the video. Yeah, Chris Woodward fired. I believe they hired him in 2019. He had a 211 and 287 record, which is not great objectively, but considering the talent that the Rangers had for most of that time period, that record's really not terrible. The Rangers put together some awful rosters during Woodward's career, I guess, stint as the Rangers manager, and he honestly did pretty well with it for the most part. I feel like this year they've been pretty bad, especially in one-run games. They've been historically bad, and they're 12 games under 500 right now, which is just not great. So let's talk about how I feel about it. I think I'm a little bit caught off guard by the timing of the move. I felt like he was going to finish the year at a minimum as the manager, but I do understand the move and the timing. The Rangers are just not a great team record-wise, but they've shown flashes of being pretty good. The offense for the Rangers is pretty good. I think Woodward's bullpen management can be pointed to as one of the reasons that they're getting rid of him. The team has just shown a complete inability to win close games. They've lost. I wonder if I can find that. Hold on. So this tweet's from August 5th, so this is a little bit old, but 6-23 as a record in one-run games is just simply unacceptable for any team. If you flip a bunch of those around, I mean, the Rangers are a 500 team. If they're even 500 in those one-run games, or they at least have a legitimate shot at being 500, it puts them in a playoff push. So I get it. I felt like he was going to finish the year, but I do get that moving on from him is probably the right move from a managerial standpoint. I liked Woodward as a manager. I thought he was smart. I thought he was level-headed. But, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, especially this year. And the team is ready to compete. The Rangers signed Seager. They signed Semien. Martin Perez has been more than I think anybody expected. Matt Moore has been elite out of the bullpen randomly. So they have pieces there, and the offense has been pretty good. They just haven't performed in close games, and when you're ready to compete, you need to be able to do that, and Woodward has just not shown the ability to win close games at all, really. So how does this affect the team? I think the first player you have to think about in this decision is Corey Seager. He obviously signed a long deal with the Rangers in the offseason, and he said that a big chunk of that is because Chris Woodward is the manager.
That they're going. Take us through how they sold you on where they wanted to take this, because you can see this is going in a much more positive direction than what we've seen over the last couple of years.
Absolutely, we're trending upwards. Woody was a huge part of my decision. Knowing how he is, knowing how he approaches the game, knowing how I am and how I approach the game, it's just the stars aligned, Right. And then you get CY and JD in there with the same mindset and same approach, that hits home, and it's something you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And he was excited to play underneath him. Obviously, they had connections during that Dodgers team when Seager was a younger player, and Woodward would have been like a bench coach, I believe, in that situation. So one of the big reasons Seager signed here, outside of the money, was Chris Woodward, and he's now gone. So you do have to wonder, like, how he's feeling about that, I guess. I imagine he's not thrilled, but to me, it really depends on who they bring in next, because winning trumps everything in baseball. You can put up with a lot in sports if your team is winning. I think Seager can put up with anybody if they're an above 500 team. if they're competing for a playoff spot in the playoff race, winning the division every year, which I think, the Rangers and Seattle seem to be the two teams, long term at least, that are going to be in the dogfight to do that. If the next manager shows up and we're able to do that, I think Seager's going to be fine no matter what. Now, if they miss with the next manager, I don't think he's going to be thrilled, clearly. I mean, he's here for a long time. He's under contract for a long time. I don't imagine we'll see him traded soon unless things go horribly in the next 5 years. But even so, I think Seager's here for a long time. The morale maybe takes a hit, but again, winning trumps all. If the Rangers are winning, I think he'll be fine with whoever they bring in for the most part. You do also have to think about the development of players. Some of the younger guys, I'm talking about Bubba Thompson, Leody Taveras, who's just come up, Jonah Heim. Some of those younger guys developed under Woodward, and I would say Woodward, for the most part, did a pretty good job at developing those players. And I think really that's what he was brought in to do. We brought him in at the beginning of the rebuild. The team was bad. They wanted him to manage with the young players. He was a younger voice, and I think he did that for the most part. So as far as that goes, I think Woodward did a good job in getting the most out of young players and really connecting with them. He just, again, did not show the ability to win close games, didn't show the ability to win, really. And not all of that is his fault because, again, the roster was terrible. But I do think a manager who's proven would be preferable. Now, who are the Rangers going to hire next? Because I know that's the question. Tony Beasley, I believe, is the interim coach probably for the rest of the year. We got, a month and a half left, give or take? About 6-7 weeks left in the season. So Beasley's going to take that. Will Beasley be the next manager? My guess would probably be no. Now, there is some time before they have to really make a call on the manager position. So potentially more managers or potential managers could be in the hiring pool. But the names I would look at right now, potentially, we saw Joe Girardi get fired from Philly, but he has proven the ability to lead teams to the playoffs. If you look at that Yankees team, he led at this point a while ago, pre-Philadelphia. If he was looking for another managerial job right away, I think Texas would at least look at him. I don't know if he's the right guy for it, but I do think that's a name you'll see interviewed. I would dislike this name greatly, but Joe Madden is another name you could see interviewed. I just don't think he's the right fit for the Rangers. I think he's kind of an odd duck, and he has shown flashes of being a good manager in Tampa Bay, obviously, where Tampa's running out a Moneyball-esque roster, not a lot of stars, but he would get that team to the playoffs consistently behind good pitching. But also, he does some really questionable things on the field. And I just, as a fan, I don't know that I'd be able to stomach 162 games of watching Madden intentionally walk pieces with the bases loaded or insert whatever random thing he's doing at this point in his life. If they wanted another young guy, I could really see, I think it's the Rays bench coach, Matt Quatraro. I'm going to guess is how you pronounce that. That's probably not. Don't shoot me, Tampa fans, if you've made it this far in the video. He's the bench coach for Kevin Cash. The Rangers did interview Kevin Cash in that year that they hired Jeff Bannister. So they're not afraid of those young guys who really like analytics. I would be open to that. I think he would potentially do a good job. If they went with a new guy, I think that would be the name to look out for. I think some of the more interesting names that I don't think will happen, but would get Rangers fans behind it immensely, would just be keep Tony Beasley as manager for a year and see what happens. I don't love that option personally, but I would need to see how the rest of the year goes, how he manages some of the closer games, the pen situation, the lineup. I wouldn't be upset about it for a year, and if it goes poorly, you can move on from him. I think a name you'll hear thrown around a lot is Ron Washington. Washington obviously managed the Rangers during those World Series runs back at this point a decade ago plus. He's still in baseball. He's pretty beloved here in Texas. He's pretty beloved around baseball, but he's pretty beloved especially here in Texas. I think the fans would be open to it. I don't know that the front office would be open to bringing him back, but he has shown the ability to win. He has shown the ability to win in Texas. I think that's an interesting name. I don't know that I would love it. I definitely wouldn't hate it. And then the last name you'll see, this is like wishful thinking. This is probably the wet dream of Rangers fans, is Michael Young. Michael Young is probably the most beloved player in the Rangers' recent history outside of maybe Adrian Beltre. I think a lot of people love Michael Young. His number is retired, although I'm sure they would let him wear it if he was the manager. I think fans would be open to it. He was a great leader on and off the field. I think he's got that kind of winning mentality that not necessarily Woodward didn't have, but I do think he's got the let's find a way to do this mentality. He's a great baseball mind from what everybody says. I think that would be very interesting if you put a good coaching staff around him, if he wanted to do it, obviously. It would be interesting. I don't know that it would work, but it would certainly be the most interesting of all the choices, just because you don't know. You don't know if he would be great at it. You don't know if he'd be terrible at it. I imagine he wouldn't be that bad at it. He's a pretty good baseball mind, like I said. Who do you guys think is going to be the next Rangers manager? Let me know in the comment section below, and thank you guys for watching. That's kind of my reaction to this entire thing as a Rangers fan, put into like a 10, 12-minute video, hopefully. So, like and subscribe if you made it this far, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.